313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
Your host, Darwin Griffin, and we are very, very blessed to have a very, very special guest here in the house today, and his name is probably one that you associate when you think about politics, when you think about someone who is a public servant, and someone who you say is a fighter for the people. And I don't really need to give too much more introduction to this young man. He's been a mentee to me for quite some time, and I am very proud of him, proud of his accomplishments, and proud of the very things that he has in store for all of his constituents. But I have on the show none other than the proven fighter that we can count on, State Representative Donovan McKinney. Donovan, welcome to a special edition of Truth to Power today.
Man, thank you, Darwin, for having me, man. I'm glad to be back.
Well, you know, you always have an open invitation to come back with all of the things that you do in the community. But, you know, there's a few people that may not know a lot about you, Donovan McKinney, your upbringing. I know I met you when we were doing some work with Southeast Michigan Jobs for Justice.
Yeah.
And, you know, we go back ways, you know, when it comes to that. And I think that when we first met, I had no idea that this was what you had in store, you know, that was on your horizon, of what you were going to be doing. But walk us through, Donovan. So were you born and raised here in Detroit? Just kind of walk us through, you know, because a lot of times I have people that watch the show, and the first thing they want to know is whether or not if you went to the same school that they went to. So they ask that question, well, is he somebody that went to, you know, I'll say it in a real proverbial voice, Cass Tech, or was he one that went to Mumford or went to Henry Ford, or, you know, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But they always want to find out, where did you go to school at, what side, you know, what neighborhood you grew up in, and just a little bit about, you know, where you went to college at, and, you know, some of the other things about you. But talk a little bit about who Donovan McKinney is.
Yeah, no, Darwin, I just appreciate the question and honor to be on your show again. And like for your listeners tuning in, I grew up right here in Detroit. Grew up with my mom, my brother, and my grandmother. We moved over 13 times across the city. But spent the vast
13 times?
Yeah, 13.
Wow. Okay.
Over 13 times, man. Like, we spent the vast majority of it on the northeast side of the city. But, like, you know, we stayed in cars, stayed in shelters, sometimes out in the street. And there was sometimes we didn't know where our next meal was going to come from. But, you know, Lord and behold, there was no short of love and prayers that got us through those tough times. And then, like, I went to public school all my life here in Detroit. I'm DPS. I graduated from Renaissance High School. So, you know, all my Cass technicians, man, my bad, you know, but we Phoenix over here.
Okay.
And graduated, you know, went to attend the University of Michigan, got my degree in public policy up in Ann Arbor from the Ford School, and, you know, been running ever since, man. Been trying to help our communities ever since.
So if you know, just listening to you and listening to what, you know, happened in terms of, say, with you when you were being raised, give some encouragement to somebody, because I mean there's other families that are going through similar to what you went through.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's some people that are living from paycheck to paycheck. There are people that are living out of their homes, and
Yeah.
then there's others that are living out of their vehicles.
Yeah.
And it's so sad, when we look at what happened with the young lady back in the day that had her kids in the van
Yeah. Yeah.
when they were at the casino.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the parking structure. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things I know with you and knowing what you've gone through, and how can you kind of just talk to people that may be going through the same thing that you went through?
Yeah, I just remember what my grandmother taught me growing up, right? And so it's two things she used to tell me all the time and still do. One is count your blessings, right? Because you woke up this morning, you got a roof over your head, clothes on your back, food at your table, maybe even a car to drive. You're able-bodied, you got your right mind, and you can put two to two together. So those small things we take for granted every single day. Count your blessings, she used to say. And then another thing she taught me was that no matter what happens in your life, there will always be people worse off than you. There will always be people better off than you, but to never fight the urge to give. Never fight the urge to give. And I put that on my first piece of literature when I ever ran for State House, because I still believe in the principles my grandmother taught me, and I still follow them today. But to those who are struggling, I understand it. And I'm still struggling. I'm a college graduate. I'm a state rep running for Congress. But we're living paycheck to paycheck too. These bills are uber expensive, man. It's too much. The cost of living is crazy. But you gotta find the joy in the small things that you have, because it could be worse, and somebody is going through something worse, whether you recognize it or not. So, enjoy the blessings you have, and understand that these tough times aren't permanent. Everything in life is temporary. But just keep fighting, keep staying in prayer, stay humble, and know that things will change.
Well, it's great, especially hearing that from you, a black man who really encourages the power of prayer.
Yeah.
And encourages others to believe in the power of prayer, as well.
Yeah.
And so, there's probably people that want to ask me the question too, pertaining to where's this church home at?
Yeah. Mayflower Congregational United Church of Christ, right there in Curtis and Livernois.
Oh, yeah.
Next door to Bailey Cathedral. That's where my wife and I got married.
Oh, it's all right.
Yeah,
Okay.
A few years back. And, now we have 3 beautiful children, ages 4 and younger. So I got our oldest son, Donovan. He just turned 4 in January. Our middle son, Robert, turned 2 on Valentine's Day. And we have a baby girl now. She runs the whole household, Darwin. Runs it all. And she's 10 months old.
So do you,
Yeah.
and a kind of an interesting question. So do you also, I hear a lot of young men that name their sons after them.
Yeah.
And some people, I think back in the day, folks called, their sons Junior if they were named after them.
Yeah.
But now you got the second,
Yeah.
then the third,
Yeah.
if they got, if they have a child
Yeah.
named after the grandfather and so on and so forth, and they keep the line,
Yeah.
the lineage going like that. So is he a junior or is he?
So he's a second, because we don't have the same middle name. So originally we were going to name him Emmanuel out the Bible. But then, he came out the womb and he looked just like me, and my wife was like, I know you've been pestering me to name him after you. All right, I'll let you do it. I'm like, oh, great. So his Donovan Emmanuel. And then our second son, Robert, is named after my wife's father, my father-in-law, who passed away from ALS
I'm sorry to hear that.
when she was pregnant with him.
Oh, wow.
And it's unbelievable how God works, because he acts just like his grandfather. And we named him Robert Ezekiel out the Bible. And then Nyla, we named her. My wife had a dream about her dad who, passed away. And he said it in a dream, I want my granddaughter to be named Nyla. And she was like, okay. And we named her Nyla Ella. So Ella, which is her grandmother, who also passed away, unfortunately, her mom's mom. and then we kept the E as her middle name in the Bible, and named her Nyla Ella Elizabeth
Okay.
McKinney. Yeah. So, we try to get, some biblical scriptures and names in there and keep it, but it's a beautiful thing. Those three, they keep us busy. We don't have any day of rest. It's just chaotic at the house, man, but it's a beautiful thing.
Well, and it's so different now
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they're probably, they're used to seeing dad at home because, you may go up to Lansing
Yeah.
and then come back home. But, and now in your venture in terms of, say, with Congress, you may be venturing out to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
and spending some time, how's your wife and, your children that kind of can, are cognizant of this is a little different now.
Yeah, it is.
That you might be doing, rather than just running up to Lansing and then coming back.
Yeah,
Which might be maybe Lansing's only an hour or so.
Yeah, hour and a
from
half,
Detroit, right?
give or take. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3, depending on the traffic. But at least you can.
But now you go to
Get through.
D.C. That's
Yeah.
an hour on a plane to get
Yeah,
there versus
yeah.
8-hour
8-hour drive, man.
right?
Yeah.
It's a long time.
So it's hard on the family. I've been 2-term state rep, so I've been in office for almost 4 years now, and going on the 4th year. And no matter how late I stay up there, because I sit on the appropriations committee, and you have to have those late night meetings sometimes, and talk about the budget and bridge those gaps and develop those relationships up there to get something done. But usually I don't stay up in Lansing, no matter how late I stay. I don't stay overnight. I usually just come home, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., because I just want to be with the family. No matter how late I get home, no matter how early I have to leave to go back to Lansing. But now it's hard on them because I only have a full-time job as a state rep, but I'm running as to be your next congressman. And it's just my 4-year-old, I told you before the show, he's at the age where he recognizes when and when I'm leaving and how long I'm staying. And he's like, Dad, you're only home for 10 minutes. You got to leave right back out. And I'm like, yeah, I got to go do this, and this. Sometimes I bring him along depending on what it is. But if it's back to back events and meetings, I know he'll get exhausted and tired and frustrated. So I said, man, you're young, you're too young for all of this, but one day you're going to be able to, have that stamina to stay along and tag along with Dad. But, I love him. I miss him. It was a day a couple weeks ago that I teared up because both my middle sons, I'm trying not to cry now, but both my sons were like, Daddy, we don't want you to leave. And I'm like, man, am I doing the right thing, But I realize this is bigger than any one of us. This is about their future and the future of all of our grandkids and kids, and what type of word we're going to leave them. And that's why we continue to keep pushing and hopefully become the next congressman and get some things done.
Well, it's so interesting when you said that about that you're getting a little,
Yeah.
some moisture might be ready to come out of your eyes.
Yeah,
and
man.
stuff like that. You remind me of, and I'm going to say his name. He always likes for me to give him a shout out, Ishmael Terry.
Yeah,
Who also
yeah.
has that aspiration to want to do, bigger and better things
Yeah.
when it comes to being your next elected official, to do some things. But it's just interesting that I see the passion in you, and I see the passion that you have wanting to do what you do,
Yeah.
and especially the legacy that you want to do what you do today and leave that legacy tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that makes the biggest difference, right there. So before you became a state representative, what was Donovan McKinney doing before he became a state representative?
So I had multiple defining moments in my life. The biggest one wasn't just moving 13 times as a kid and growing up poor. I didn't realize how poor we were. I'm going to tell you this, Darwin, until I got to college, when I stepped on the campus of the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And we did something my freshman year. I think we had a sociology class or something like that. And they did these exercises. and it's called the Privilege Walk. You heard about that? So, essentially they'll line you up outside on the field or in the room, but we're on the field at this point, and they'll line you up literally equally. And then the Privilege Walk, they have a list of different things that might quantify in your life, or that you might say, what, that happened in my life. And if it was something positive, you move forward. If it was something negative, you move back. Okay. And I remember doing this, and I was the last one. I was in the back parking lot, straight up. I'm not even lying when it comes to that. And I'm like, man, dang, maybe I grew up this event. I didn't know how bad it was, because we just had all that love and just, man, I had my grandmother and my mom. It didn't feel like we were poor. I knew we were poor, but it didn't feel that bad. But then when you reflect, you're like, dang, it was crazy. How did we get through that? But then, I remember growing up, my 9th and 10th grade years of high school, I attended 14 of my friends and family's funerals, all due to gun violence.
Wow.
Yeah, growing up in the 48234, 48205, Northeast Detroit, also known as the Red Zone. And that's currently the area I represent now. But
that's Denby High School, and
so part a little bit north of that,
Osborne?
Osborne, Little East of Persian, but Osborne areas, both sides of Gratiot.
Okay.
Going close to Kelly, but pretty much that Van Dyke corridor going east. And so, yeah, man, it was a lot of I remember growing up, and we used to celebrate. Me and the young guys that I grew up with on the block, if we made it to 16, because a lot of our people that we were growing up with either got gunned down, they got locked up at a young age, and it really put things in perspective for me about, what, do not take this life for granted, because it can be easily taken away. I remember, if you made it to 16, 18, 21, 25, that was a feat within itself. Because a lot of our young people got gunned down so early, and their lives got cut short. And so, I looked at it and I was like, you know what? I need to do something positive with my life. I understand that God has given me talents and abilities to share with the world, and I just had to tap in, and that's what I did. I prayed, and God was like, go out here and serve the people. And it kind of led me into the life of public service and what I'm doing now. But before I became a state rep, I was doing.
Well, let me ask you before we jump to that part, and since you brought up about the gun violence.
Yeah.
So now you see a lot of people resolving issues with guns now. Whereas back, I know when I was growing up, we might fight, fist fight, that kind of thing. Yeah. But or play the dozens, and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But now you start to see a whole lot more gun play, and young people are getting a hold of guns now. With what happened recently, at the Fairlane Mall.
Yeah, saw
with
that.
the issues there at the mall, and now you got two 19-year-olds that lost their lives, as a result of the gunplay. But when you were growing up, now were there gangs in your neighborhood that you?
Yeah, it was more gang-related activity back then. I think now it's more so because the neighborhoods isn't as populated as it once was when I was growing up, in the early aughts, the early 2000s and all that, when I came of age, middle school, high school years, and so now it's more so okay, what can we do to provide those wraparound services?
Right.
Back then, it's all right, I kill you. Okay, my posse and my gang, we're gonna come and kill you, and it was ever ending, and so.
And then there was some of the gangs even had initiations that you would have to do something.
To
somebody,
and
commit a
or you get beat up, and that's what happened to me. The elders in the community, we call them the OGs, who used to be a part of gangs, and they were like, Donovan, we see more for you. So you ain't gonna be a part of this stuff. Go out there. And I appreciate them, man. It was the neighborhood, because we used to talk to each other. Darwin, I don't know what happened in our communities. I remember growing up, riding my bike with my older cousins, 30, 40 blocks from the east side, even going west or going deeper east. And like, if we got in trouble, guess what? We got dealt with right then and there. And from the community. And by the time we got home, and boy, oh boy, you better get home before the streetlights come on, you got dealt with again by your family, man. And so, I don't know what happened to us. I remember, like seeing my elders on their porches, and they used to tell me, "Hey, come here, young blood, or come here, gather around, sit down, let me tell you about life." And like they used to share their wisdom, and we used to just like, "Oh my God, yeah, he's talking to us." And now I got elders in my community who come up to me and they say, "I'm afraid to even have a conversation with these young people."
Yeah, that's what's happening right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. And some of it I understand, because some of our young people are even scared of them. And it's just like, we got to bridge that intergenerational divide. I think it's stemming from like these phones right here, these smartphones, because all we do is just like, we're on them instead of having a conversation with one another, and just having more time and ability to do so, and the willingness to do so. I think how I ended up winning my state rep seat, I know I'm talking in tangents, but it's kind of like all interconnected, and how I became the first black to ever represent Macomb in the state legislature. Like, I was knocking on these doors, and neighbors haven't even said one word to each other outside of a greeting in like 10, 15 years. I'm like, man, why is this happening? And so I used to pull, it was like pulling teeth like a social worker. I used to pull the neighbors out of their houses just to have a conversation with each other. Because they used to be able to, I don't know if you know, like neighbors will pull up in their driveway. They see somebody right there. They don't even want to talk to them. They duck and dodge just to try to get in the house. I'm like, what happened to us? What happened to the love in our communities? And that's something I can't necessarily legislate, right? I can't provide policy for that. But what I can do is try to figure out ways to bring community together, to have those opportunities, to have those dialogues, and understand that, you know what, we might not agree on everything, but if we at least know we love each other, we at least know that we're a part of community and we're one. And I think that's what's missing more now than anything.
Because, it seems like every time I've had people to come on the show,
Yeah.
and we talk about some of the things that's going on with young people and some of the ways that they resolve issues different than how we resolved issues, that a lot of people say that the main thing that a lot of young people need to do is have somebody, a listening ear.
Yeah.
To listen to them.
Yeah,
To listen
that's
to
true.
what's going on with them.
That's true.
Are you saying that same thing? I mean,
Yeah, no, I've seen it. Like, I mentor a lot of these children, like a lot of the kiddos, man, because it was done for me. Like, I would not be where I am without God, my grandmother, my mom, and a bunch of mentors, especially like the ones that were on the street that used to do, right? And they looked after us, and they told us, they used to look at our report cards and give us money for if we got, good grades. And they're like, man, you got all these A's and B, bro, get your butt out of here. I don't want you on this block at all. Go inside. And so, like, that's what happened. But now it's kind of like it's the wild, wild west out there, man. We gotta grab on to our communities. We gotta grab on to our babies and let them know that we care for them.
And and that's a hard something to do with a lot of people because they don't know if the person is listening, number one. And then number two, they don't realize what they say to someone
Yeah.
is it really registering?
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the hard part,
Yeah.
getting their message to register
Yeah.
with someone.
Yeah.
And it's difficult, especially when you got young people that are steady being inundated with their gangs, their peers, their classmates that are steady telling them something else.
Yeah.
And then the parents have to realize it's a 24-hour work
It is.
that they have to
It
do
is.
with their young people, because they're getting inundated by the schools, the classmates, inundated by their boys or their girls in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then now they see social media, like you said, they see social media. and they're seeing what's on these phones. Back in the day, it used to be those, they would see those violent video games that they would look at. But it's like we got to do something, because there's a lot of people that are really worried about, are they going to see the age of 21?
Yeah, that's true.
And there's a lot that are saying the same thing. Are they going to see the age of 16? Are they going to see the age of 18? And, it was interesting, because I was talking to some young people. Matter of fact, I was over at Osborne High School, and I was counseling over there at Osborne. And when I was at Osborne, there's a lot of different ethnicities, there in the school. Yeah. But when I asked a class, is there any ways that that somebody could smuggle a gun or a weapon into the school? And it was just interesting, Donovan, because just about every student in the classroom said there were ways to have somebody to smuggle a weapon into the school, or even to smuggle somebody into the school.
Yeah.
Now, thank goodness this was like 12 years ago. Now, I'm hoping that they've, stepped up their game when it comes to making certain that people can't get through the magnetometers and, get through security. But out of all the students that I had in this one class, the only students that did not raise their hand would have been Bengali students. The black students, the white students, the Hispanic students that were in the class, they all knew ways to get somebody into the school.
Yeah.
Through an open, through a window, through a, some kind of a door that might have been, leading outside, something that they had ways to get folks into. And see, that's the part that really, I don't know what we're going to do, but we got to do something, because young people get weapons today, and they're doing so much. There's so much when it comes down to gun violence right now. And I know that's one of the things that you probably have some of your other legislators, there in the House, that want to see that addressed.
Yeah.
And, and it's like, what can we do? Because it seems like it's so easy for young people to get a gun.
It is.
And to and to keep the gun, like with the what happened down there with the fireworks recently, where the police saw the person had the little backpack, and they thought that the backpack was a little bit weighted down, and they went to check to see what he had in the backpack, and apparently it looked like, I think they said he had a assault rifle that was in the backpack.
Yeah.
And it's like, where they get these guns from? And then the other question too is that there's a lot of young people that feel like they need to carry the guns for self-defense.
Yeah, true. I've heard that multiple times.
And that was the thing that I think that a lot of them are saying now. And I think that there needs to be more legislation out here.
That's true.
For that. And I think that was one of the things that they talked about too when they addressed that issue about what happened out there at Fairlane. Was, I think that one of the young people said that that's why he had the weapon, was self-defense.
Yeah.
And that's what we got to really try and look at. I mean, it's really getting to be one of these situations where parents need to, just talk more with their young people in the household and find out. And I'm not saying they got to go through their drawers or, things like that, but they need to, be a little bit more cognizant about some of the conversations that they have with some of their fellow classmates or other friends, in the neighborhood. But they need to be listening more, because we don't need another situation like what happened with the situation in Oxford.
Yeah, man.
When the parents knew, and that's another thing, that there's, all of the legislators, when that did happen, what did they do to try and curtail some of that? And then at Michigan State, when the gentleman went onto the campus of Michigan State.
So we did do something. So I don't think anything happened with Oxford. So I remember one of my seatmates that sit right back at me, Representative Sam Stackloff. She represents parts of Oakland County. And she was telling me, because she was elected at the time when the Oxford shooting happened, and they were literally in session on the House floor. And people were in awe, right? They were in shock that it was happening. But, the Republicans never addressed it. They were in charge at the time. And so when Michigan State shooting happened...
When you say in charge, For some people,
They,
might not know
they
the
were
meaning.
they were in they had the majority,
Majority.
in both chambers, the House and the Senate, and didn't pass any type of legislation or at least attempt to. But when Michigan State happened, Democrats were in charge, right? We had the 1-seat majority in both the House and the Senate with the governor, and we passed immediately sweeping legislation. A 3-bill package. One is the ERPO legislation, which is essentially being able to call authorities on somebody if you think they're going through a mental health challenge or unstable, and that they have a firearm on them and could potentially hurt somebody or hurt themselves. So it's called the red flag law. I'm not sure if you heard about that before. So able to take away temporarily somebody's their right to carry their guns temporarily until they get evaluated, things of that nature, and the courts are able to look at it. Because there's so many instances where you could kind of feel somebody's going through something. And, they ended up doing a mass shooting or killing themselves. And you're just like, man, I wish I had the opportunity to prevent it. And that's an opportunity for folks to be able to do so. Second was safe storage laws. So we passed a safe storage law in Michigan, which if you got a firearm in your house, you gotta put it up safely. Because there's so many instances where the kids, I just heard about it a couple weeks ago, right? Kid got onto a gun and it was, not necessarily stored properly and not killed, but hurt him and his 5-year-old cousin or something like that.
I heard about that.
Yeah, something that happened recently. And I'm like, dang, that's crazy. So even with the safe storage laws, man, those things are still happening. And then the third thing we passed was universal background checks. So no longer any straw purchases in Michigan. Because at one point you didn't have to show an ID. It's kind of like the trade show loophole, where you go to a trade show, they got tons of guns. You got the gun and rifle show at the Rock Financial or Suburban Showplace, and you don't have to show no ID. And now you got to show ID, you got to get checked, and you got to do all of that. Like Dick's Sporting Goods at one point, people were just going in mass, just go in there and get a gun. It's crazy. So, but now we got to go a little deeper because there's a lot of illegal and makeshift guns with the new technology.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
So you can order something from Amazon. Lord have mercy. This is the negative drawbacks on Amazon, because you can get shipped whatever you want. And there's a black market for it. And you can piecemeal a gun, and you can 3D print guns right now too that our kids have access to. With various bump stops and things of that nature. And so, we got to do, I don't think anybody should have an assault rifle, even the police. I don't think nobody needs an AR. When the Second Amendment was drawn up in our Constitution, they had muskets. They had to, powder that boy up. Probably took an hour to shoot. Man, they wasn't imagining this new technology and shooting, 48 rounds in less than 6 seconds. What are we doing, guys? That's not what the Second Amendment is for. Nobody needs the ARs. And that's what's happening, because in America, I don't know if you guys know this, the leading cause of death for youth in our country across the United States are guns. That's it. Now, in some areas, because we led the charge with community violence intervention, which tries to empower community members and employ them to be kind of like the one-stop shop to provide wraparound services and be able to be, deputized, so to speak, to come in, not as police, but come in as a community and say, hey, what do you need in this moment to try to deter the violence? Mm-hmm. And so homicide rates, because of the investments we made in CVI, and I led that charge here in Michigan. We're the first state in the nation to have a statewide community violence intervention program. And I'm proud of that work, put millions of dollars in that program. And it's worked. Homicide rates have decreased.
So when they
Yeah,
go out into
yeah.
the neighborhoods, what do they do? with
Yeah,
the-
so they try to diffuse situations immediately, like in the moment. And so, I got to give a shout out to, folks like Force Detroit, New Era Detroit, Detroit 300, like all these groups that are just like, if you're at a party or something, a black party, and you might hear somebody riling up, like they try to respond immediately before the police can even get there, and just say, hey, don't send the police, because sometimes the community police relations aren't as good as they need to be, and sometimes police can escalate the situation. So bring some regular folks in that kind of know what it means to be around guns, that grew up in the neighborhood, that maybe went to prison, formerly incarcerated, that kind of can help talk these folks down and see if we can get them the services they need. Maybe they just need a meal to eat. Maybe they just need, they stressed out and they just need some help with their, utility bill, or
they could be
need-
stressed out because they don't have no place to sleep.
yeah, sleep. Yeah. Providing those services like immediate. That's what CBI is all about. It's crisis intervention. But then, even though the homicide rates are decreasing across the country, what's happening is the suicide rates amongst our youth are going skyrocketing. Not just amongst our youth, amongst a lot of the age groups, but in particular our youth. And so what happens is because of this. It's a smartphone, but it's creating a lot of dumb actions in my view, because people are trapped looking at social media constantly, and like it's not good for their mental health.
And it seems like that's what the cell phones is what's really perpetuating a lot of those takeovers that you're seeing now.
Partly it's more so like, okay, where can we get? They're speaking out. The youth just want somewhere to go. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a great segue, because when I was growing up, the community centers used to be free. Mm-hmm. Like elementary, middle school. I think when I got to high school, they started to charge us. I don't know what happened where the government kind of pulled back their resources and put it on the parent and put it on the individual to pay access for community centers and government buildings, and being able to be in safe spaces to learn and grow and thrive. And so we got to get back to that. And so I don't know. I think we can. Like, we got enough money. We live in the wealthiest country in the world. Why not put it to where it needs to go? We got to get youth opportunities where they can have safe spaces to gather. That is their own. That nobody else but them can have it. And so
now in your district where you're at,
yeah,
you've got, what's the name of the place right there, 7 Mile and Van Dyke?
Yeah, Say Play Detroit at Lipke, the old Lipke Rec Center. Say Play Detroit. I got them some dollars too. I got Farwell some dollars, Rec Center.
Farwell right there on Outer Drive.
Yeah, Outer Drive, to do a lot of youth programming, getting new playground equipment, basketball courts, some tennis court, all of that
That's
stuff.
why I used to play tennis there.
Yeah. Farwell had a great tennis program. Mm-hmm. I think they still got it, but I think they're trying to build it up from what it once was. I heard that Arthur Ashe played there at one point in time, and I'm like, oh man, I used to practice there and teach, and I'm like, that's crazy. So there's a lot of legacy when it comes to tennis and black tennis players in the area. But we just need opportunities for our youth to gather, and they are just speaking out. They say, hey, nobody cares about us, because a lot of them, even though we got jobs in the Grow Detroit Young Talent Program, that's still not enough. And then a lot of these community centers, from what I'm hearing, is putting metrics in place. So you got to meet this GPA, you got to meet this requirement in order to be, a part of the programs and get the services. And so, that's what I heard on the ground for some folks. And so, like, for me, I just wanted to be able to all access.
Regardless of GPA or
anything. Because I remember doing lock-ins growing up, like at the community center, at our schools. I don't know if your listeners know what lock-ins are, but like being able to stay overnight places. Because a lot of our youth, a lot of the deaths and the violence take place after school hours and then late at night when these kids have nowhere else to go. And I know some people be like, well, they should be at home. I'm like, man, it's summertime. It's hot. A lot of them ain't got no AC. Like, they're rolling around. I was rolling around when I was young, too. Like, sometimes even after the streetlights came on. But, that's just kids would be kids. But we shouldn't penalize them. They should have opportunities to be in spaces where they can
And
thrive.
what you call them, lock-ins?
Lock-ins, yeah.
Lock-ins.
Like you stay overnight. You play music, you play basketball
At the rec center.
at the rec centers. We used to have this. This is not a new phenomenon. We used to have this. They used to feed us, and then you was like, stay your butts in here. We're going to play some ball instead of being out here and maybe getting caught up in something.
I'd
Yeah.
never heard of that.
Y'all never heard of it? Oh, man. Oh, we used to do that all the time.
I mean,
That's
it was,
probably my generation, the millennials.
may have been, because maybe
Yeah,
back then,
yeah.
with my generation, with the baby boomers, it probably was a little different. It's like, hey, it wasn't no lock-in. You better be home.
That's true. That's true.
Because, I mean,
But now you got parents that's working 2-3 jobs. Now, like, they're trying to figure out ways to scrape by. Now, I know some of your listeners are going to be like, man, not everybody working. And I understand that. But the ones that are, like, where should these kids go?
And that's a great question.
Yeah.
That's a great question right now. Where do these young people go?
Yeah.
And see, I see sometimes you'll see like the abandoned homes.
Yeah.
And in some cases, you may see somebody in that home
Yeah.
at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning because they can't go home, kicked out of their house.
That's true.
Or something happens, with with the home scene.
Yeah, some
where
domestic violence or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the thing that makes it so rough. That it's like, where do they go?
Yeah.
What do they do? And as you were saying, there probably needs to be more opportunities for young people to have some place that they can go. And then just like you were saying too about with the where the young people can go, especially like even after school, because parents having 2-3 jobs.
Yeah.
And and it was like where you can't leave a child at a certain age home by themselves, because if somebody knew that you had a 8-year-old that you left at home by him or herself, then they could get Child Protective Services to come out and do something. But it's hard sometimes when you got the older brother or the older sister that's like maybe 10 or 11 or 12 by themselves with their younger sibling.
Yeah, the younger ones. Yeah.
And they don't know how to handle some of the issues. And so some of the young people have to grow up real fast.
Yeah.
In the households and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
But, it's like, where do they, even like with the daycare centers, and I've been telling people over many years, there needs to be 24-hour daycare centers.
I agree.
Because where do they, if a person, like you just said, working 2 or 3 jobs, where does that young mother take their...
Or working a night shift.
Exactly.
Or like, the graveyard shift. And so they're...
And then sometimes they had it where the father worked a day, a day shift.
Yeah.
The mother worked a night shift. But then if something happened between the two of them, now then that mother is still working that night shift. She's resting during the day while the child is in school. But then when the child comes home, now where is she going to go and take the child to if she works like that, as you said, that graveyard shift?
Yeah.
From like 11 o'clock to 7 in the morning or something like that. Where did he take? And now then you got to depend on other relatives to go and like a aunt or a grandparent or somebody else.
And so I'm glad you brought this up, because my generation of millennials, we're living in the sandwich generation.
You say sandwich?
Yeah, sandwich generation. So this is, and then also, I don't know if you heard about the silver tsunami. So I'm going to connect it to the silver tsunami. These are our baby boomers, the largest generation in the history of this country to ever retire at one time. There's 10,000 baby boomers retiring every single day in this country. So a lot of them are getting older. The millennials, we are having our families. Some of them got teenage kids and kids are about to go to college, because the millennials are like from their 40s and in their 30s, and some in their 20s right now. And so, or like upper 20s. And we're having our families, but we got to take care of our older loved ones. So maybe our parents, maybe our grandparents. And so we are like literally subjected to all of this. Like, we're the first generation that's considered not to make as much or even more than the previous generation. We're the first one to make lower. projected. And so that means like the bills are skyrocketing. Like you can't work no longer one job to make ends meet, to have disposable income, benefits to take care of you and your family, and a retirement to look forward to. Social Security is about to run out in 2032, y'all. So like my generation, like we got all this debt to go to school. Y'all tell us to go to school. We go to school, we come out, there's no jobs, and we're all under all of this debt. Healthcare is crazy. There's no way to get healthcare at a affordable rate. Then you want to talk about home ownership. Because of the debt we're already under, we can't even get loans to get, maybe a house, maybe, a nice down payment on something. Because one, our elders, no offense to y'all, love y'all, but like y'all are
We're the reason why you're here.
Y'all are living longer, and y'all are choosing to stay in your homes, which means we don't have opportunities to buy the starter homes and what we need. Like it's all interconnected. And I'm not knocking one generation versus another. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just putting out the facts about what the millennials and my generation and then what the future generations are going to have to deal with. Because it's hard. It's harder now to go do everything that you guys have done for yourself, which is to go to school. I mean, I was talking to my older uncles and some of the elders at the senior buildings. They're like, man, I went to school. I'm like, how much did it cost? They're like, $300. I said, it's $300,000 now. I said, oh, it's $300. $300,000 now, y'all. Like, it is so hard to do what y'all have done. I don't think our generation has the opportunity yet, and that's why I'm running, because we got to figure out, we got to level that playing field, and we got to address some of these concerns and gaps.
Well, and that's the thing too, because it's like since you've been in the legislation, what are some of the things that you find, like when you mentioned about the CVI,
Yeah.
But what are some of the other things in the 4 years that you've been in Lansing that you're most proud of?
Yeah, so it was the CVI for one, getting the money for the lead service lines. So I don't remember, this was, I call it the BC era before COVID. Detroit Public Schools ended up shutting all the running drinking water across the city. And at this time,
because they were saying it was with
it was
lead
testing.
in the water.
It was testing high levels of lead. But you gotta think about this, and I want your viewers to think about this. If the schools are testing higher levels of lead, and all of these pipes are interconnected underground, what about our neighborhoods and our houses?
Right.
And so you might be able to escape it at the schools, but what about
when you went home?
Home. And so what happened with the Flint water crisis? It was the water source that corrupted the pipes. So you remember they transitioned from the Detroit water system to the Flint River. You remember that? Mm-hmm. And the Flint River was poison. It had a bunch of stuff in there, and it corrupted the pipes. In Detroit and other parts of the state, we still have wooden pipes on the ground. I don't know if you knew that. Mm-mm. We got old lead copper pipes that have never been replaced for years. And so when I got up there, and I got to give a shout out to President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, because they shepherded and got done the IJA, the infrastructure bill, that sent a lot of money to states for infrastructure projects. And at that time, I got elected. And so, I'm the only Detroiter on the Appropriations Committee in the House, consecutive terms, last term and this term. And I was able to shepherd being on the Eagle Committee, co-chair of that subcommittee on appropriations. I was able to put over $600 million to replace lead service lines in communities in Wayne County and across the city. So, that was something I was most proud of, because my oldest son, who's 4, was 2 at the time, and he tested higher levels of lead at 2. And what we were able to do, because of the lead pipes, what we were able to do was replace a lot of those lead service lines. You've probably seen those construction workers, those people out there working, replacing those lines. But now we're trying to remediate a lot of those folks who have lead in their blood, because we put the Filter First program as well, which requires your child, when they hit the age of 1, to automatically get a lead test because our children are being mislabeled as behavioral problems, ADHD and the like, but a lot of it is because it's coming from lead in their blood and it's impacting their brain development. And so for me, this is about remediating the lead as soon as possible. And so our kids can, pretty much be able to live lead free, as well as our communities across the board, but especially our youth. And so
that's the other thing, too, Donovan, is that there's the lead that was in the water, and it's still, parts of it's still in the water. Yeah. But then there was also the lead in the paints.
Yeah,
where
the paint
you see
too.
the playgrounds. Yeah, where they had the the swings, the slides, the monkey bars.
And they've done a lot of that federally and statewide with the paint. But when it came to the water and the infrastructure and the pipes itself, we got to replace them. And so, $600 million is a drop in the bucket, but at least it's something. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to get as many of the lead service lines, replaced immediately. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, because we got to take a break in a minute. But, the thing that I was wondering too is that when you're looking in terms, so there was other things besides, with the lead in the water, the CVI. What other things? Because you keep mentioning appropriations. Yeah. And tell what the committees are that you represent now. Yeah. In in Lansing. Yeah. And these are things that you got primarily through when Joe Tate was the Speaker of the House.
Yeah, he appointed me. He was the first one to appoint me to appropriations, and then the current Speaker reappointed me to appropriations.
And talk about what is because there's probably some people that don't know what appropriations mean.
Yes,
tell what
appropriations is. Your money committee, y'all. That's your money committee. So we get to dictate where the money's going to some degree. Now,
to some degree,
yes, because in our state constitution, there's two different slices of money. There's the unrestricted and the restricted. Restricted dollars are constitutional. Required by the Constitution, we must spend at least this amount of money on this. And then unrestricted. So in a budget of like 70 something to $80 billion, most of it is restricted dollars. What appropriations is allowed to do is play with a lot of those unrestricted dollars, which is anywhere between $15 to $25 billion a year. So that's where you get a lot of those projects, like the lead infrastructure, like the CVI, after school programs. I don't know if you remember this. When I was growing up, we had all types of after school programs. And for some reason, when I got older and I got to college, they stopped it. Government stopped supporting it. And so when Dems got back in power, what we do, we did record funding in after school programs, before and after school programs, to give these kids opportunities to be a part of programs and safe areas where they can learn and thrive and grow, because it's all interconnected. Like those deafs and those kids being active in community, it's kind of like what the scripture talks about. Idle mind is the devil's playground, right? Mm-hmm. So we got our devil's workshop. We got to keep our kids actively busy and in positive environments. Another thing we were able to invest in, like record dollars in our education system. So not just after school programs, but universal school meals, free breakfast and lunch. The federal government used to be able to take care of that. But then when they pull it out, the states have the responsibility. So for the longest, Republicans were in charge for 40 plus years. And when the federal government stopped doing that, the Republicans didn't want to fund it. So when the Dems got in there, we're going to make sure that no kid goes hungry when they go to school. Because it's hard when you're hangry and you're hungry, you're not going to be able to learn or pay attention and participate. So we want to make sure we take care of that. Nothing we were able to do with appropriations. It's so much, but youth mental health. So the old nursing home on 7 Mile between Ryan and Mound, down the street from Persian High School. It used to be an old nursing home there that closed down during COVID. And it was sold for $1 to a black-owned organization that they were doing around mental health. and they came to me. They're like, "Yo, we want to turn this building and like reuse it as a youth mental health facility." I said, "Cool. We need $2 million for it." I said, "Okay." I ended up giving them. I got them the $2 million, and they're going to open up shop pretty soon.
Good.
And it'll be like one of the only youth mental health facilities like on the entire east side. And so we're excited about that. We put dollars. I mean the dollars in a lot of places. Infrastructure, roads, as you can see, sidewalk repair, home repair stuff that the city of Detroit got. A lot of it came from state funding. I'm trying to think what else we did. I mean there was so much, Darwin. It's crazy. And I could get you a list. But as a sitting state rep on appropriations, the same amount of time I've spent in the state legislature is the same amount of time my opponent has spent in Congress. His claim to fame is $25 to $35 million back home. I've brought home hundreds of millions of dollars, and some people even might say a couple billion or so, to the city of Detroit, Wayne County, and surrounding areas.
And that's one of the things that I think when we come back, we got to take a break in a few, but when we come back from break, that's one of the things that I think I would like for you to address.
Yeah.
Because I know there's a lot of ads that are going out.
Yeah.
And a lot of these ads are, not necessarily saying they're attack ads, but they're ads that are pretty much like labeling people in a different way than they are characterized to be. So, there has to be an opportunity, and I know that that's one of the things that debates a lot of times kind of gives people a chance to kind of refute some of the things that come out in some of these ads that people are putting out, on them. But at the same time, when people don't want to debate you, then you have to still find another vehicle.
To get the word out and come back with all the negativity.
So that's one of the biggest things that people have to do. And, and it's interesting because you got to really kind of keep score, take notes, as to what somebody's accusing you of doing. Not necessarily you per se, but just what they're saying about the person. And then wanting to come back say something else, to them. So that makes it a little difficult, trying to why did you say this about me? Or why did you say that about me? Or why did you accuse me of doing this? Or why did you accuse me of doing, that? And a lot of times you vote on bills that may have a lot of nuances in those bills.
A lot of poison pills, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of poison pills in this legislation.
And they say a lot more than what's actually supposed to be said. But we're gonna come back to that.
That's
so
perfect.
we're gonna take a break. And I've got State Representative Donovan McKinney, and you're watching Truth to Power.
If you enjoy the music, the talk, and the vibe right here on WHPR, we need your support. Help us keep independent radio alive by sending a Cash App donation of whatever you can to $WHPR TV Radio. Every dollar makes a difference. That's $WHPR TV Radio. Support the station that supports you.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Matter. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
All media platforms are engaged. Copy.
Get ready
to launch your show or product.
Periscope ready. We're 5x5 ready to launch. Copy that.
Trend worldwide across all major platforms.
Ignition. 3, 2, 1.
The world is waiting. Watkins Broadcasting. More than just TV. You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
And welcome back. You're watching a special edition of Truth to Power, and I am very fortunate to have as my very special guest State Representative Donovan McKinney. And Donovan, before we went to break, I know we talked a little bit about some of the things that's happening as far as, say, in your quest to be the congressional representative representing the 13th district in the state of Michigan. But I know there's a lot of things that, because one of the things that I want to do is to mention that we do want to extend an invitation to the current representative of District 13, Sharif Anadar, that if he would like to come on and speak to the viewers here at WHPR TV on Truth to Power or any other show here at the station, that there's an invitation to him to come on and also speak Truth to Power or addressing his candidacy to try and get reelected for the 13th Congressional District. And he can contact either Ms. Willis at 313-868-0342 and let her know that he is interested in coming on the show. But Donovan, I know that that's one of the things that you and your quest to be the legacy that the Honorable John Conyers had for so long, representing most of Detroit, in that district. And then also Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick. Yeah. But it was also the legacy representing
two late greats, man. God rest his soul.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So talk about real quick in terms of say that why do you feel that you want to ascend to that legacy? And those are some tall shoes to fill.
Heavy hitters, man. Heavy hitters.
With Kilpatrick and with Conyers. But what makes people want to say, okay, well, McKinney is next in that line to go from Kilpatrick, Conyers, and then McKinney?
Yeah, no, Darwin, that's a good question. So, for me, understanding the legacy of this seat, people have to understand the original 13 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. 13 people formed the Congressional Black Caucus. 2 of them came out of Detroit. We're the only city with 2 of them that, the late, great John Conyers, and, we had, and then Carolyn, and then, late, great Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick. We had, also, Charles Diggs. He was the first black congressman.
And you also had my frat brothers, Hanson Clark.
Hanson Clark, Barbara Rose Collins.
Right.
I mean, you name it. We got some legacy here. And so for me, understanding this is the only majority black congressional district in the country, right now not represented by a black person. So because of the Voting Rights Act that happened of 1965, the rollback that happened from the Supreme Court, What I'm worried about is our ability to participate in our own government. Now, I'm only able to run for office and hold office currently because of the 14th Amendment. I don't know if people know, your listeners know what that means. So that is the Birthright Citizenship Amendment. Black people in this country and our Constitution are still considered 3/5 Darwin.
Right.
It's never been outlawed, never been eliminated. It's still right there, black and white.
And I think a lot of people are
Yeah.
educated on that,
Yeah.
especially because of the Juneteenth celebration
Yep.
that people were covering, last month on the 19th.
Yes.
And they mentioned that over and over again in
Yeah.
a lot of their presentations about Juneteenth. But
Yeah, and so we're still considered 3/5. The only reason why we're able to walk around free, you and I are able to do this TV show and drive off in the sunset is because of the 14th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a tax on the 14th Amendment right now as we speak. Because even though the Supreme Court upheld birthright citizenship for a subset of people, which are those born in this country from non-citizens. Because if you're born in this country, does that make you a citizen, yes or no? Yes. It's been a long-setting precedent, yes. However, because of the Supreme Court upheld that decision, Trump is literally on the horn right now with the Republican Congress, both House and Senate, asking them to overturn birthright citizenship. Mm-hmm. And so we all understand the original man in this country, the original person to gain rights and privileges in this country are white Protestant men who own property. White Protestant men who own property. Property meant back then slaves. And so everything that you and I are privileged to have and the rights in this country, that's including other white people, including women, that's including black, brown, Portuguese, doesn't matter. All of our rights and privileges stem from amendments to the Constitution, which can easily be rolled back. And so when I look in my baby's eyes every day, when I leave them to do this type of work, I think about their future and the future of all of our children and our grandkids and what type of world we're going to leave them. And so for me, this legacy seat means everything because we need somebody in there that's going to fight and understand not only the plight, but understand the moment, that's willing to meet the moment, but understand that we're under attack and it's all of us that are under attack. It's not just about black people. It is. Because in me, what I believe is like if you help black people, you help everybody else. Right. But this isn't just about black issues. And we're all interconnected, whether we realize it or not. And we're all under attack from this racist and fascist regime we're living under. And so, I don't like to call my opponent out, but I have to call him out in this respect. He has done nothing to address what I'm talking about. And so I've been fighting like HELL to make sure we get everything we need at the state level. And I guarantee if you guys send me to DC, you won't regret it.
Now, there's been some things that people have said about you.
For sure.
Is there anything that anybody has said about you from any side? I'm not saying your opponent's side necessarily, but just any group, any side, any organization or anything that may have said something about you that you'd like to kind of address, because I definitely want you to be able to come back again.
Yeah, for sure.
And, before the primary election coming up on August the 4th.
Yeah.
And come back and address anything else, because we know there's going to be a lot of ads.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of tech ads
coming out, and they're going to paint you in a different light than what you're painting yourself in and what other people paint you in. But is there anything right now, today, being, the 10th of July, is there anything right now that you'd like to address that may have come out that you'd like to kind of correct the narrative as to what's being said about State Representative?
For sure. A couple things, Darwin. I'm glad you're giving me the space and time for this. So we're running a grassroots campaign for Congress. Mm-hmm. we have not taken any corporate PAC money in this entire campaign. Corporate PAC, APAC, crypto. We haven't taken DTE money. We haven't taken any money at all running for Congress. And people can check my FEC report. Just go to Donovan McKinney and type in federal elections.
What is FEC?
Federal Elections Commission.
Okay.
And they literally have all our documentation of who donated to us. And so we've gotten over, I believe, 40,000 or so individual contributions on Act Blue alone. Our average donation to our campaign has been $30. The people are funding our campaign, no special interest. My opponent cannot say that. He's the first member of Congress to invest money in cryptocurrency, campaign money in crypto. He's taking DTE money, tens of thousands of dollars from DTE, and you already know what DTE is doing to us right now as we speak, with the power outages, and man, kids are dying, seniors are dying because of these power outages, whether it's from severe weather or just grid overload. They have to get their act together and actually fix the grid and stop raising the rates on our people. My opponent is taking money from ICE contractors. He has thanked ICE multiple times. I think thanked ICE last year in a resolution and voted multiple times to increase the department's budget. And so what happens is, because he has a lot of that baggage, he's trying to figure out ways to attack me and not telling the whole truth. And so during my 2 terms as a state rep, really last term, my first term in office, I had an opportunity to meet with Matthew Maroon, the son, not the dad. I think the dad was already passed away, or he was sick or something like that.
Just got the Ambassador Bridge.
Yeah. So I had a chance to meet with him. He's like, Donovan, I want to help you out in the community. I said, cool, because a lot of folks don't understand. I've been doing community events, helping people, clothing folks, feeding them, long before I became elected state rep. And so I never pocketed the money or benefited from the dollars. He wrote 2 checks to me, and I utilized that for community because I represent a poor district in Northeast Detroit. And so I utilized the dollars that he gave me. He gave me a $500 check one time and a $1,000 check the other time. And we just spent it on clothes and food and resources for community. Mm-hmm. And I got other like corporations to do the same. But what happens is, once they do that and they have something on the docket, a legislative priority that they want you to vote for, they start pulling on your coattails. And I told them no, I wouldn't vote for whatever priority they wanted. And you can check their records. They stopped giving me money like 2 years ago for my community events because they said, you know what, this is somebody we can't control. And so, and because of that, I realized how toxic the corporate money was. And from that point on, I stopped taking corporate money. But more importantly, what I ended up doing was I wasn't just talking about it, I was following what we preach. So I introduced legislation called the Taking Back Our Power legislation, which literally targets our utilities and our insurance companies, taking all corporate monopoly money out of our politics. I introduced it under Democratic leadership, and I reintroduced it under Republican leadership earlier this term. And we didn't get a lot of co-sponsors because, you know, a lot of people are taking the money and are scared to stand up to corporations. I don't have anything to lose because I'm not tied to them. I just wanted to help people in our community. And so what happens is, because of the politics in Lansing, we couldn't get a hearing on it and couldn't get my bill to move forward. And so I partnered with community groups on the ground and different members and communities and say, hey, can you guys take my legislation and create a ballot initiative? And they did just that. And so the Mop It Up Michigan campaign, Money Out of Politics, they literally took our legislation, created a ballot initiative, got over 600,000 signatures on it. And right now, I think they're deciding in the State Board of Canvassers as we speak if it's going to be on this year's November ballot. Because if it gets on this year's November ballot, I guarantee it's going to pass with 80% of the vote at least. You want to know why? Because both Democrats, Republicans, Independents, no matter where you are in the political spectrum, understand that the corporate influence in our politics is just too much. And that's why I've been leading the way in that charge, because I learned my lesson. I said, you know what? These corporations, even though I do believe they should be investing in our community and the people that they're serving and polluting and doing whatever, but like they also want your vote. And I understood it and I learned my lesson. I'm like, okay, you know what? This is how the game is played. And I just made sure that I'm not taking any corporate money from here on out. And I haven't taken any as a candidate for Congress. So I need people to check the record. Another thing I want to set straight is that my opponent's spreading lies about my voting record, saying that I voted against minimum wage and earns paid sick time. And we talked about it a little earlier. There's poison pills within the legislation. So the original half of the Democrats, a lot of the Republicans cut a deal. And what they wanted to do was circumvent the will of the people, which is my no vote says that we will immediately raise the minimum wage to $15. And then we would cut all the sub-minimum wage. So all the tip workers and all that will literally, there will be no more sub-minimum wage. That would actually increase their minimum wage to $15 as well. And the earned paid sick time would be immediate. What happens is a yes vote, they cut a deal, and they said, you know what, we're going to get to 15, but we're going to get to it $15 in a few years. And when the ballot initiative was actually introduced for $15, like back in 2012, that was a living wage back in 2012. $15 in the year 2026 is not a living wage. $15, if you want to talk about yearly wages, equates to $30,000 a year. That's nothing. And so what we ended up doing was we said no, alongside the unions, the UAW, One Fair Wage, Mother and Justice, all those folks who worked on the ballot initiative of $15, told all of us to vote no, and some of us stepped up to vote no. So that was a mischaracterization of one of the votes. Another vote, Messiah's Law. And I think it's one of the last bills or something that my opponent's putting out on me. And it talks about drive-by shootings, to hold people accountable who do drive-by shootings and kill people. The Republicans, it was a Democratic bill, and then the Republicans got a hold of it because Republicans are in charge right now in the State House. And they put a poison pill as well in the legislation that says if you do a drive-by shooting and if you don't kill or hurt anybody, then that is an automatic 10-year felony. And the ACLU, a bunch of us Democrats, were like, hold up, that's not right. Because if you don't hit or kill anybody, I don't think you should get an automatic 10 years for that. When Michigan is known to have the longest sentencing guidelines in the country. We got people who are in prison right now on non-violent offenses that are old. I'm talking about elders that we're paying for out of our taxpayer money with no help from the federal government. This is all state taxpayer money. And so for me, looking at what the ACLU is putting out, looking at how much money we're spending in our prison system right now, it's not good to put people behind bars for something that they didn't hurt anybody for. You need to hold the people accountable. So right now, the legislation is in the state Senate, whose majority led by the Democrats. They assure me they're going to take that piece out of the legislation. And then when it gets back when they pass and it gets back to the House, I'll vote for it to hold the ones that are actually killing and hurting people. But no way in heck should you send somebody to jail for 10 years if they didn't kill or hurt nobody.
So now, if somebody, Donovan, would like to get more information about your candidacy, they like to go and they like to support you in your quest to be the next congressperson representing District 13, or they want to donate money to your campaign. Look into the camera and tell how they would go about doing that, please.
Yes, go to DonovanForCongress.com, DONAVAN for FOR Congress, CONGRESS.com. You can sign up to volunteer. So we're door knocking every single day. We're phone banking every day. And you can also get on our website, It'll prompt you to donate and contribute. So we need everybody to support us because we're running a grassroots campaign based off the people, because we don't want our hands tied behind our backs when we go to D.C. to fight for you. We want to make sure that instead of adhering to the corporate interests like my opponent, and my opponent keeps enriching himself through insider trading, things of that nature, we won't do that. We're going to literally spend all of our time working for the people of the mighty 13th District. And like I said before, Darwin, to you, if I'm honored and blessed enough to be your next congressman and you put me here, I guarantee you won't regret it. You're going to see some differences and some changes. And usually I don't make guarantees, but on this one I have to, because this is life and death for a lot of our communities, for a lot of our families who are struggling to make ends meet right now. And that's all I care about, and that's going to be all my focus. And just look at my record, look at who supported me, look at my FEC report, and you'll see that I'm the guy for you.
And now, Donovan, too, we wanted to go and express, like I said, to the person that's in the seat currently. But then there's other people that are also trying to achieve that same seat. We know, but they are running as an independent and then also as write-in candidates as well.
Yeah.
So, again, we extend the invitation to them to come and be a guest on one of our shows here at Watkins Broadcasting, and to get an opportunity to get and to hear their side of why the public should support them in their quest as well. But Donovan, I know that we're going to make certain in terms of say that because you are looking at running some ads with us, here at the station. Yeah. So we also ask those other individuals that are running for the same seat if they would like to either come on the show and or to get an ad, with Watkins Broadcasting as well. So we open that invitation up, as well. And the same information I was giving you to contact Ms. Willis, our station manager here, at 313-868-0342, so that you can talk to her and then she can see about trying to schedule that with you as well. But Donovan, I know you've got an event that's coming up next Tuesday.
Yes.
So give you an opportunity to speak to that.
So we're partnering up with the Council of Baptist Pastors, Reverend Sheffield, a bunch of organizations and groups. We're going to be doing a big voting rights town hall and GOTV rally. It's going to be Tuesday, June 14th. So this upcoming Tuesday,
July 14th.
July 14th. July 14th, this Tuesday, at the Bridge Center, which is Reverend Sheffield's place on Grand River Avenue near Livernois in the 13th District. And so it's going to be doors open at 3:30. The town hall will be from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then the doors open for the rally at 6, and then the rally is going to be from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And so we're inviting all ages, kids, everybody's welcome. Please bring the family. Come out and have a good time. We'll have some food and opportunities to fellowship and talk about what's really on the line, our voting rights, and what we can do to make sure that everybody has a voice and are able to participate in our government for years to come.
And who are some of the other people because I think I saw on the flyer it had the current Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist.
Yes, yeah.
It also mentioned, I think that, is it Orville Littlejohn, the pastor?
Yep.
And then naturally, as you just said, about Reverend Horace Sheffield, and then others that'll be a part of the first part.
Yeah.
And then I know you've got the other part that starts, I think it starts at 6 o'clock?
Yeah.
And
doors open at 6.
The
rally, the GOTV rally. Yeah,
and I think I saw State Representative Stephanie Young.
Yes, I love that sister.
Right,
yeah.
and anybody else that just off your memory.
So I got people flying in. I got the new Congresswoman-elect Maylok Quiros out of Denver. She just won her primary election in a heavy Democratic seat out there. I got Congressman-elect Chris Rabb. He's a state rep right now out of Pennsylvania, out of Philly. He won his election in a strong Democratic seat a couple months ago or so. He's flying in for it because we're doing a national movement because this is about getting people with good, honest hearts that refuse to take corporate PAC money and that are going to do the right thing on behalf of working people of our district. And so I'm not in it alone. I want people to understand that we got friends and that we're going to bring them all together and rally up and understand that we must utilize our voice by utilizing our vote and getting some good people in these positions that are going to fight for us.
Well, we got to wrap up, Donovan.
Yeah.
I know that you've got another, you've got another obligation that you have to leave to
Yeah.
go to. But give your contact information again. If somebody wants to support you, give your website, give your email address, or give whatever other information. So if somebody wants to donate, they want to support you,
Yes.
they want to knock on doors,
Yes.
or they want a phone bank, or whatever the case may be for you, just give that
Yeah,
information
everything
real
is
quick.
on DonovanForCongress.com. Also follow us on social media. We're on Twitter. We're on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Donovan McKinney. And yeah, follow us everywhere. Like we're working it, and it'll be an honor to have your support.
Well, it would be an honor here at Watkins Broadcasting at WHPR that if you are successful in your venture to be the next congressional district representative in the 13th district, that you have an open invitation to come back.
Yeah.
Again, so hopefully you'll support us, you'll continue to come back and then give us information, updates about you and what's happening
Absolutely.
with you in the political arena.
Yes.
Thank you again for coming
Thank
on
you,
Truth to
Darwin.
Power.
No, I
Thank
appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you.
Can't wait to come back, y'all.
Okay, you've been watching a special edition of Truth to Power, and we have had State Representative Donovan McKinney